Literally Heinous. Literally Heinous with Lily Maslia.
Hello and welcome back to Literally Heinous. We have a very special guest on from LA. Matthew Starr is a comedy writer, comedian, and teacher. He was actually my teacher for his Write Your Pilot class, which is online on Zoom. He runs it a couple times a year. It's absolutely fantastic. And Matthew is here to talk all about TV and writing and movies and living in LA, because you guys know that I love LA so much. It's my favorite place on earth. So Matthew, welcome to Literally Heinous.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to see you, Lily.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you on. So I took your class a few weeks ago and it was so much fun. I seriously had the best time. It was so much fun to be in an environment talking about TV, and I obviously love watching TV, and you're so much fun to talk to because you're just a wealth of knowledge and information. So we both went to Ohio State.
That's true.
Did improv at Ohio State. Matthew was in 8th floor, which is totally fine. So can you tell the Haniacs a little bit about your background?
Hi to the Haniacs. That's also the nicest way I've ever been called a nerd before, so that's nice, of just being called a wealth of information. Background, I grew up in the town, the halfway point between Cleveland and Columbus. I'm from Mansfield, Ohio. And so I went to Ohio State. Loved Ohio State, basically. At Ohio State, I studied improv there. I was an English major, but 8th floor was my whole life there.
I loved being in my improv team. I feel like being on a college improv team, it was everything to me. Do you feel like that?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And almost too much. I look back at college, and if you are on a college improv team and you're listening to this right now, love it. Immerse yourself in it, but also go to a party for God's sakes. Go to a party. Don't.
Yeah.
I was very much. I knew from the time I set foot at Ohio State that I wanted to be a comedy writer. That I wanted to write in TV. And I was very aware of I don't want to get. I love Columbus, Ohio, but I want to move to New York. I want to move to LA. I want to go live in these places, and that can feel very difficult. It can feel very far away. And so I was really grateful to 8th floor. For giving me people who were similarly motivated. I ended up moving to New York with some of my friends from 8th floor, and they kind of became a community there as I got involved at UCB. Basically, I got some internships at Ohio State. I interned at the local NBC4, then I interned at The Daily Show with Jon Stewart at the time, interned at Letterman, and then got hired onto staff at Letterman as one of their staff assistants, and so that was my job. Going right out of college, left that after a few years to do comedy full time, which is weird, but also I had been there for 3.5 years, and you realize David Letterman is such an institution, and people had been there for years and years and years, that I wanted to go. I was really excited about all the stuff happening at UCB, and so I gave UCB my whole 20s. I did everything you could possibly do there, and then started just kind of working in comedy and doing weird jobs until I ended up where I am now, I guess. That's sort of the long and short of it. Is that helpful?
Yeah. No, totally. I love that. So okay, so you graduated Ohio State, and then you right out of the gate moved to New York with other people from 8th floor.
Honestly, even this is something I recommend to college kids. I used to be on UCB's touring company, and so I would we would talk to college kids a lot. I would be listen, if you can figure out a way to get to the place you want to live before, I lived for my last semester, I lived in New York City, and then got hired before I graduated, actually. And so I got to go back and do senior crawl, already knowing I had a job in New York. And it was the best. It was the best because everybody else is so existentially terrified, and I'm I'm good. I just get to go live in New York with two of my best friends. And I remember thinking oh, my life is exactly the same as it was in college. I just don't have classes or homework anymore. I just have a job that pays me money, and then I go and do improv and sketch and stuff.
Yeah. So what was the job you were hired for right in your senior year of college?
I was hired to be the corporate staff assistant at The Late Show with David Letterman. And so I was the assistant to the VP of HR and the VP of Production Finance. Basically, it was my job to buy the milk for the show.
Okay.
And to fix the typewriters. I'm not exaggerating. They actually had Dave preferred that the top 10 lists be written on typewriter. And
really?
So I would have to make sure that the typewriters were up to speed for some of the writers. This makes me sound 1,000 years old. And I'm 1,000 years old, and I look fantastic. Yeah.
You were not 1,000 years old. The typewriter thing is crazy. That's insane. So I remember when I was graduating senior year, there was so much pressure to have a job. And I wish I didn't stress out so much because I ended up graduating during a pandemic. So it actually didn't even matter.
I can't imagine what you went through is so much more intense than what I went through. The idea, how you ended up in New York and not just living in a bunker in the woods of post college. I don't know what I think about that all the time of like, if I'd been in college when COVID hit, like we had swine flu and it was basically like, hey, stop putting beer in your beer pong cups, you idiots, and you'll live. COVID, it was so much more intense. I don't know how you managed to maneuver through that. So kudos to you. I'm super impressed.
Thank you. Yeah, it hit on spring break. I was on spring break with my improv team. We were in Tybee Island, Georgia. And it was like, there were whispers of it, but it was like no one was really sure. And then when shit started like happening, we were on spring break. I think like half of us were on acid. The other half was getting matching tattoos. And we were like, something is off. And that was when we found out like graduation was postponed. And that was when I was like, oh shit. And then it was so sad because it was just like dominoes because everything was getting postponed and then things would start to get canceled and you're like, okay, maybe everything will be fine by May. Like maybe everything will be fine by June. And it was sad, but I do think it would have been worse having it been like in the middle of college because COVID took up like 2 years, you know? Yeah,
I remember. No, I remember like walking in at the time. I think I was coaching like one of the UCB Herald teams, and I like walked in, and they were like, "You think it's gonna be a big deal?" And I was like, "I think it'll probably be the weekend, and then I'll see you guys in a couple weeks for a rehearsal." Yeah. And then it was like, never set foot in there ever again. Yeah. Never saw some of those people ever again, and it was just like, okay, yeah, that was such a weird before and after. I remember like during the pandemic, it was like spring, probably April, May. My mom had like handmade masks and sent them to me in New York. I was living in Park Slope with my then girlfriend, now wife. And I was like, there's a barbecue place over in Brooklyn called Dinosaur Barbecue. Yeah. Let's treat ourselves. They're doing like to-go orders. And I like wore this like handmade mask. I like had like an Ohio State hat on and like a hoodie up. And I was like walking through the streets of Brooklyn. I caught my like reflection in a mirror and I was like, oh, we're living in the dystopia. Like this is the Hunger Games. This is so insane. I mean, it was all terrible. Like COVID, there was no, I guess the best way would have been to be like a 4-year-old or something. I don't know. But no, there was no good, like everybody, like I think everybody is grateful because like I have friends who don't have kids who are like didn't have kids and have kids now. They're like, I'm so glad I didn't have kids. Yeah. I got people who had kids who are like, I'm so glad I had kids because it gave me something to focus on. I think everybody has like basically internalized like the way I went through COVID was the best. Thank God I went through it the way that I went through it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and that is essentially adulthood in a nutshell of like, oh yeah, the things that happened to me that were terrible, I'm glad they happened to me the way they did and I wouldn't want it any other way. I mean, that's just optimism. And I had my friend from Fishbowl on a few weeks ago, and we were just talking about, like, I wasn't even upset. Like, we made a meal out of, like, our senior year that got cut short. Like, I had the best year in Fishbowl, the best year of college, and I felt bad because the next year the kids were doing practice on Zoom, like improv on Zoom, and it broke my heart. Yeah, improv on Zoom's a bummer, especially like for a college group where it's like, yeah, the whole fun is you get to be in a room with people and you get to meet people. Like I remember for the first time meeting people who were like as weird as I was and just being like, oh, my whole life I didn't make sense in places and I make sense here. And that's what a college improv group really can provide for people in a way that I think is great. Yeah, like reading Bossy Pants when I was in high school, I was like, I want to do improv. I was like, I didn't even know that was an option. So like when I toured Ohio State, I was like, I have to find the improv teams. And I hate hearing, I was talking to a kid that goes to NYU recently, like a freshman, and he didn't get into any of the comedy teams. And it's just so sad to me. So I'm like, if you can't get in, like make your own because there's no reason in college why it should be exclusive. And that's honestly like why Fishbowl started was because it was like improv. While I was at Ohio State, improv had kind of a boom because I was there from 2006 to 2010. So before that, improv was still kind of under the radar. People didn't really know what long form was. They didn't know anything about it. And we would have to like, there was also like the internet hadn't really captured, there weren't really podcasts about it yet. Maybe like one or two. And so we would have to like physically drive to Chicago to like see what long form was, or UCB's touring company or Second City touring company would have to come to Columbus in order to see it. Eventually it became much more ubiquitous. And so by like 2008, that's when Fishbowl started. 2009, 2009. In 2008, that was the first year we really had like talented people not be able to get into 8th floor. And I remember talking to, I'm still good friends with, I would say good friends, I hope he thinks that too, with Tyler Davis, who's one of the people who I think started Fishbowl, right? And I see him around in LA, and I think he's the best. And I remember like seeing him on campus and be like, this is a super funny guy. And then I found out there was like another group, and I was like, oh, that's exactly what should happen. You're exactly right. Yeah. And having toured with UCB's touring company, the natural inclination is that there's going to be in any city that's not New York or LA, and even that exists there too, the two improv teams in town are going to hate each other. They're going to hate each other. Like there's going to be beef between the two teams, and it's like, why? You guys all do the same thing. Yeah, well, because it's fun. Yeah, I love a rivalry.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I was the biggest proponent of the beef. Like I was telling my when I took your class, I was telling my
Hmm.
friends from Fishbowl, I was like, I mean, he was an eighth floor, but I mean, I'm
Right.
gonna it's just funny. And it was more funny because it was so one-sided. Because eighth floor was never anything but
Right, because they
kind
were the better
and
group. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, there was some differences because
I'm just kidding.
but I think it because like I mean it from like 10 years ago, like in 2009, like when I was in the group, like I was like, this beef is 10 years old, but I'm like, I don't care. I'm
Right.
keeping it alive.
And there was a group before eighth floor called the Talking Monkeys that we were all like, fuck the Talking Monkeys. And then some of those guys joined our group and were like, yeah, these guys are cool. Like,
Yeah. Well,
um,
yeah, when I was at Ohio State towards the end, the comedy scene was so robust. There was the sketch team got really good. Like Sundial is so funny, and then the stand-up team, and we had a really great community. And I'm sure like and then other groups spawned off of like people that didn't get in Fishbowl, and like I'm sure they hated us. But like that's it's how it should be. Like I'm pro rivalry.
and what's so cool about doing improv or comedy in a place like Columbus is that like there's nobody to tell you that you're doing it wrong. And that's
Yeah.
what's the most important thing, especially like if you have listeners who are currently doing comedy in college or honestly anywhere. As much as I love UCB and spent a lot of time there, the time that I spent in Columbus, I would say, did more for me of like allowing me to figure out what do I like, what's my voice, what just like being able to try things and do things and
Yeah.
having it be so much. It's not even like lower stakes. It's just like you get to have
Yeah.
fun with your friends, and there isn't any kind of like measuring stick of like you're doing this wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important in college for people who want
Yeah.
to pursue comedy in general.
I miss it. Um,
Hmm.
so how long were you at Letterman for? And
I was at Letterman for 3.5 years.
okay. And then what was after that?
After that, I left just to do. I was like, I had been coaching. I'd like been starting to like coach improv teams, and that was a little bit of like a very little bit of money.
Yeah.
My rent at the time was like $700 a month in Astoria. I was like, I need to cover that. um, I did that. I was like submitting freelance stuff to like College Humor at the time and to other places like that. And so I was like I was writing on a mod team and was starting to get like writing gigs, a little bit of writing for like, if you remember like Guy Code or like Girl Code and shows like that were on
Yeah.
MTV and Comedy Central. That it was just kind of like cobbling that together. And then UCB would send out these weird job postings of like, we need we need somebody to pretend to be a tour guide for Time Warner Cable. We need somebody to be a
Yeah.
doorman for at like these like live action events that were always like really good money, but the most like soul crushing. Like I remember I had to dress up as a French butler for Perrier, and they're like, we're gonna send you into people's that we're gonna go to like the Spotify offices in New York,
Hmm.
and we're gonna do like an office takeover. And I like a friend of mine was working the front desk and saw me in like this crappy fake mustache, dressed as like a Perrier bellboy, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Don't look at me, like,
Yeah.
like don't ask. I'm just making money, man."
Yeah.
And so like it was just kind of like weird jobs that whatever
Yeah.
I could do, I would do. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been in LA for a few years now.
I've been in LA since 2020, since November of 2020. Yeah.
Okay. So what's it like living in LA? I literally Heinous the podcast was actually conceived in LA. I don't know if you knew
Okay.
that.
I did
Um,
not know that.
I don't know why you would, but I
Um,
went on a work trip to LA and extended for 2 days by myself. And
mhm.
I just had like a transformative experience. I had the best time. And then
That's so
after I
cool.
came home from that trip, I was like, because I was working at GM, General Motors, forever. And I was like so corporate. I was like, I need a thing. Like I was so inspired by everyone in LA having a thing. So then I went
Uh-huh.
home and was like starting a podcast. So what is it like living there?
I love LA. I love LA. It sucks in all the ways that you hear that it sucks. Traffic, isolating and all of that. I love LA because you have to do everything on purpose here.
Yeah.
And so, like, whereas in New York, you can just kind of like leave your apartment and go to a show, and then he ends up in a bar, ends up at another bar, ends up at a diner, and then all of a sudden it's 5 in the morning and you're on your way home.
Hmm.
And New York is, I don't want to mince words here, a better city. New York's a better city. Definitely a better city in your 20s. It's definitely a better city for when you're, poor, because like everybody, not to say that I'm not still poor, that like, everybody has to ride the train. It's New York, and there's kind of like, and everybody's in it together. LA, though, you have to do everything on purpose. And so you get to be much more intentional about who you see. And as you start to get older and realize like, oh, I don't want to just hang out with anybody. I want to hang out with the people that I care about. I want to do things, on purpose with people. And so I really love LA for that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I definitely would say like I go out less and I see less than I used to in New York, but also the people that I see, I'm so excited to be seeing and spending time with. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you move to LA for your work or for your wife's work?
A little bit for my work and a little bit because basically, Kate I'm married to a woman who's much cooler than me. Her name's Kate. Have you ever been to the theater Caveat?
Yes.
So Kate started the theater Caveat.
Yeah,
She's one of the founders
I
of Caveat.
learned that when I
Yeah.
stalked her, and I was like, "Oh, interesting. Maybe I could get my pitch to go through." I love Caveat.
Caveat's the coolest. It's the coolest place. But like pre-pandemic, starting a theater is not exactly like a low time, high
Yeah.
lucrative business. It's so much time. And so up until the pandemic, she had been like spending 80 to 90 hours a week in a basement.
Yeah.
Um, and was a little bit getting burnt out. Not that she didn't love it or love the shows there, and especially she
Mhm.
loved creating the shows there. That's like her real passion. And so it got to be the pandemic, and I was realizing like a natural progression for people at UCB is like as you get older, you like people kind of move to LA.
Yeah.
And I realized like, oh, a lot of the people that I'm like having Zooms with and spending time with are all in LA. And so that was a factor. Kate like getting a chance to sort of like this was our one chance to sort of get out of New York, to get away from, to give her a chance to explore some other things. So that was a factor. And then also like we were living in Park Slope and we loved our place, but winter in New York without like there weren't vaccines yet, there wasn't anything yet, and we're like we don't think this is going to be a fun look for us. We want to be someplace where we can be outside and
Yeah.
enjoy the sunshine, and even if we have to isolate and social distance, because New York essentially kind of became LA during the pandemic, where it's like you have to plan to see each other, you're mostly hanging out at a park, and then you go home and take an edible and you watch a movie.
Mhm.
Which is like what it's like to be in LA. And so yeah, it was kind of the right time for us, and we came out here to be like, let's just try it, and we really love
Yeah.
it. We live on the east side, and we really love it out here. Yeah.
I'm so I I love I love LA. I'm going for a week in June, and I'm so excited, and I'm just
hmm
like planning people I'm gonna see and like what I have no idea what I'm gonna do, but I can spend so much time in LA by myself, just find stuff.
Honestly, the best choice we made when we moved out here, we were like, what are the things that we can do that like we could only do in LA that we couldn't do in New York? And
Yeah.
so we got our motorcycle licenses and we bought a Vespa. And so like we drive around the city on a Vespa, and it's the best way to get around the city. I see your hesitance here. Especially you were just in Italy. How can you not be like romantic about driving a Vespa around?
Well,
Um,
my friend and I didn't pass the Vespa test. We
yeah.
failed. So we had to
Um,
rent a smart car.
Passed the Vespa test when I was in Rome for my honeymoon, and it is no joke the most like oh, I am an adult and I feel like I
Yeah.
feel like empowered in my own abilities that I, because like the Vespa test I had to take was basically like a couple of Italian men just like hand you the keys and they just kind of fold
Hmm.
their arms and look at you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I drive one of these, like I can do it. And then like when I turned it on, they were like, okay. And then we took like a Vespa tour of Rome.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was expecting to be like a Segway tour where the person just kind of like very slowly pulls away.
Hmm.
This man just like stepped on the
Yeah.
gas. He just like
Yeah.
pulled away, was like weaving in and out of cars, and I was like, all right, I can do this. And Kate was on the
Hmm.
back of the scooter, and like I like weaved through, like caught up to him at the traffic light. He looked at Kate and he went, "Your husband's a good driver," and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best. I
Wow.
like
And that
how
was on your
validating. Yeah.
honeymoon too?
On my honeymoon, yeah, right.
I mean, like, who needs anything else? Kate was
I
probably
know, right?
like, yeah, like I did that. You must
I
have
did
felt
right,
so
yeah, yeah.
like that's so
Yeah, she was on the
masculine.
fence up until that point. She was like kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the marriage up to that point. And then that Vespa teacher was
Oh,
like, yes. And she was like, okay, fine. I'll wear the ring in public and I'll start
yeah.
introducing you as my husband. Yeah.
Did you talk about that like every day after that? I mean, you're still talking
100%.
about
I talk about it every day since. This was last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah, no, my fiance, I can't think of an example
Congrats
right
on
now,
getting
but
engaged. Yeah, yeah.
thank you. He would do something like it's such a like man thing, but it's funny, like it's a good man thing. Like it reminds me of like my dad, like if he did a solid for me like 10 years ago, he'll be like, "Hey, remember that time I fixed your hair? Or, like remember that time I went
Mm-hmm.
out and bought you that thing that you needed?"
Nation. What's that?
You ride those in LA?
Um, yeah, right in LA. We don't take it
Wow.
on the freeways. We don't take it on the interstates. It's just like surface streets, places, and it's the best way of getting around. I highly recommend if you come into LA. One, it's like very like Spielberg Disney Channel kind of a vibe to like
Yeah.
just bop around LA on a Vespa.
Yeah.
Also like nobody can get upset at a Vespa. Like you're just as equal friends with the scooters as you are with the motorcycles.
Yeah.
It's a good time. Yeah.
That's
Also, gas is
amazing.
cheap and you can park anywhere, which is amazing. Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe that you guys can put a sidecar for me after you guys adopt me.
Of course.
Okay, so I am obsessed with Best Man's Ghostwriter. I got my Audible trial to listen to it, and it's so
Nice.
amazing. So, can you take us through what that experience was like? Did Audible reach out to you first? Did you have the pitch first? And for everyone listening, so Best Man's Ghostwriter is an Audible original, so you can listen to it on Audible. It's sort of like a movie podcast. And the cast is freaking stacked. Okay, Glenn Powell leads, Nicholas Braun, Ashley Park, Darcy Carden, Lance Bass, Zach Braff, Lucas Gage, who I'm
Mm-hmm.
addicted to. I read his memoir and met
The
him.
absolute nicest, yeah.
Is he not the sweetest thing on
The
earth?
absolute best, yeah, yeah.
He's in like Lit Hain Hall of
Mm-hmm.
Fame, like dream guest. And Zach Cherry, who goes to my gym.
Okay, Zach and I were on the same Herald team at UCB for forever and ever. That like, I love Zach.
Yeah. So Stacked Cast, such a fun show. It's an amazing concept. It's about a funny guy, Glenn Powell, who is a writer for Best Men, soon to be Best Men, and helps them write their speeches. And then he gets engaged and has to confront his own issues with his male friendship. And I love the topic of male friendship.
Me too.
So talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. First off, great summary of it. That was amazing. That was terrific.
Really?
And I also like I agree with you, and I'm totally biased, but I think it's the best cast ever assumed, ever compiled on anything ever.
No, totally agree.
And so like basically where the idea came from was I actually did that job. I was a ghostwriter for Best Man speeches for strangers weddings. That was one of the jobs I did at, like after leaving Letterman. I was the best man at my brother's wedding. I killed. And then word spread, you know, and so people started asking. And when you get asked to help a guy write a best man speech, you think, like, oh, I'm going to write jokes. And turns out, no, you're helping men figure out why their friends are their friends. And so that kind of like sat in my brain for a while because I only did it a couple times, and then I started teaching the writing class, honestly. And then I went through a friendship breakup, which is something that we never see talked about on in media. And I think as you get older, you realize like friendship breakups are just as bad, if not worse, than romantic breakups because there's something even more like indefinable about them.
Yeah.
And
people
I think
don't
sad
take
about
it as
them.
like seriously.
Yeah. And so that had happened, and having like taken some time with the idea had kind of been percolating, and somebody who I had helped with a script was like, hey, you know, he's a director, his name's Tyler Mercer, he's super talented. Was like, hey, if you ever have like an idea that we could shoot in like one day, I've got a crew, like I can help you make this thing. And so I was like, oh, let me think about it. And so I wrote like an 8-page short film version of The Best Man's Ghostwriter, which is basically like the cold open of the show. And so I paid for that because at the time I had been like the head writer and EP of like a weed live stream talk show on YouTube that like had no audience but an amazing cast and crew of people. But it was paying well enough that like I had $6,500 is how much it cost. And so I set aside $6,500. It was like a 1-day shoot, one location. I think there were like 4 actors in it, including me. I was playing the Glenn Powell part. And I made this short film, and then I started like sending it to people that I had meetings with or that were friends of mine, being like, hey, I've got this thing. What do I do with it? And so in some of them would be like, it's a movie. I'm like, oh, 100% it's a movie. It's got to be a movie. And then other people would be like, it's a TV show. I'm like, oh, yeah, definitely. It's got to be a TV show, right? Like, you just kind of like react to whatever they say. And then a person from Broadway Video was like, oh, would you do it as narrative audio? And I'm like, obviously, it's always been narrative audio. Who doesn't love and know exactly what that is, right? But like, I got to pitch it. They were basically like Broadway Video put it onto their slate. Audible liked it, and so I pitched it, and it got greenlit the week before Kate and I's wedding, which was really convenient timing to go into being married, of being like, oh my God, I just sold my first thing, and I'm actually gonna get paid to do a thing, which is helpful.
And that on top of the Vespa thing, like
right. Yeah. On top of the Vespa, yeah. Kate's feeling, I would say, marginally okay about being married to me. How do I always end up here where I'm like, my wife hates me? It's like, we have a great marriage. Like we're very good friends. In writing it, like basically like when writing a narrative audio show, like you're kind of in charge of it. Like you sort of become the bottleneck on your show. And so having run the class and all of that, they gave me like 5 days with other writers to like break the story of the show. And so I had to know what I wanted, but like I was able to run that room and get the 10 episodes sort of outlined. I then went and like did the full beat sheets of the show, got them approved. And then I wrote all 10 episodes like in 10 weeks the following year, like from like January to like April, essentially was writing like 1 episode a week of like Monday's cold open, Tuesday's act 1, Wednesday's act 2, Thursday's act 3, Friday is you like retype the whole thing and like edit, and then you send it. And I did all of that. And Kate hated that period of time because I was just going so crazy and so in my head about it. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I would love to do it again.
Yeah.
I loved knowing what I had to do every morning to do it. And also, like, it makes a huge difference when you're writing to be actually getting paid and to write something and to have it be your job. Writing is so much one, more enjoyable, and two, like it's much easier to sit down and do it because it's like this is what I'm gonna. This is my job.
Yeah.
Rather than like having to work your other job and then find time outside of that to still get writing
Yeah.
done, which is something I think people should give themselves more grace for.
Yeah. Oh, so cool.
Yeah. And then the way we ended up with Glenn, which was like right before the ascent of Glenn Powell, who is the absolute nicest. I also directed the show, so I got to work with all of the actors, and it was me in the booth reading with everybody. And so basically we got sent a list of names from Amazon of like, hey, these are people that we like that we'd want to play basically me in a show, right? Because it's my like it's the French the story is very similar to my life. Like I didn't do the job as much as he did, but like a lot of the emotions in the friendship breakup is very similar to like it's a very personal show. The family is very similar to my family. It really is kind of like my story. And when I look in the mirror, I'm not like, hey, check it out, it's Glenn Powell. You know what I mean? Like he's a beautiful, terrific, fantastic man. And then I saw some of it, like I only really knew him from Top Gun, I guess. I had seen Set It Up, but I had forgotten about it. And then I rewatched it and I was like, oh, this guy is closer to what I think could be pulled off. And then another movie of his, Everybody Wants Some, he's like a really fast talking kind of smart guy in that. And this was before I knew that, like, oh, he can do everything. Like that guy can literally do anything. And once Glenn came on board, everything just sort of elevated. He just elevated every element of it. And was such a delight to work with. And every time I see that he's in another thing and having, taking over the world, it just is the best feeling to see somebody like that who couldn't have been nicer and more talented do so much. So yeah, go see everything Glenn Powell's in. He's the absolute greatest.
Yeah, I'm Glenn
If you're not
Powell
already.
Army.
That's why you needed convincing, yeah. Hot take, Glenn Powell, very cool, yeah.
Yeah, I loved Hitman. I thought that was so much fun.
Yeah, he's great.
So when this came out, were you expecting to hear from the friend that you had the friend breakup with?
Ooh, great question. I was a little bit. I was curious to hear from him, and I still haven't. We haven't spoken. We were actually at a wedding together, one of our mutual friends, like weddings. We were both there, and we didn't get a chance to talk. We had a chance to talk, but we didn't talk.
Were you like throwing up the whole time, knowing that he'd be there?
Throwing up is not the. I was curious. If there's something I could apologize for, I love apologizing. Apologizing is the best. Something was my fault and I can take control of it and like fix it. Oh, that's the greatest. I would be really excited to figure out our friendship again because this is a person who was I was very close with for a very long time.
I actually have an episode about male friendships. Jack has this amazing friend. Jack's like high school friend group is very like just like a good group of guys, and every year they organize this like ridiculous cabin weekend where they play baseball in the water and they make trading cards for each other, and like it's so dorky.
Sounds so cool.
It's so nerdy. So yeah, I interviewed this guy and talked about like like I feel like men think it's like gay or whatever to like be a good friend. Like fellas, is it gay to be a good friend? Like no, it's not. I love that you talked about
that. I just saw a thing that was like, oh, it's gay to have non-reproductive sex, and it's like, what are you talking about? Yeah. What do you mean? And it was like specifically of like a reproductive sex that the woman also enjoys is super gay, and it's like, what are you talking about? I'm so jealous of. Actually, that's not fair. I do have friends from high school that I have lost touch with just because I live in LA, and like when I'm in Columbus, I get a chance to see them, and it's always very nice, and we text every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I'm very jealous of like to have that kind of close knit group of friends from way back. I think is really valuable. Yeah.
Like the number of group chats that he has. Every time I look over at his phone, and it's a different group chat. The working names are Boner Dogs and FAP.
Okay.
And I'm like, what is going on? But I'm just glad that he has a lot of friends and he's out of my hair.
And the natural transition of men is that eventually the Boner Dogs chat is going to be like, congrats on the baby girl. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, she's beautiful. And it's like,
from the Boner Dogs.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I gotta tell the Boner Dogs that my father passed away. You know what I mean? Like the Boner Dogs are gonna be there for him through thick and thin. And so that's really lovely to have. Yeah.
I can't question it. I'm engaged to the straightest man on earth, and that's fine. So I want to ask about the cast. So you had such a stacked cast. Was there anyone who you were like freaking out about? Was there anyone that really surprised you? You thought they'd be different?
Honestly, the two people that I was really freaking out about were Jason Mantzoukas and Jack McBrayer. And this is
Yeah.
from being a comedy nerd from way back, that like at one of my first Del Close marathons at the UCB, I got to see Jack perform with Paul Scheer in Improv, and it's still a set that I see. And I think the very first improv show I ever saw at UCB was Mother the Soundtrack, and Jason Mantzoukas was on the cast of that. And so like improvisers know, like whoever you see when you like are first coming up in improv, those become like your heroes.
Yeah.
And so like those two guys in particular, I'll start with Mantzoukas because like I'm just such a huge fan from all of his work on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, from all of his work on The Good Place. How Did This Get Made? Like he's just such an incredible comedian. And again, I've seen him do improv so much, and I'm like, I know your voice. Like I can write it, and I'm gonna write this character specifically for you. He plays a character who like keeps implicating the groom in crimes, right? Which is like a perfect maniac for him to play. And as I was writing it, I was like, this is great. I'm gonna nail this. And then he got in the booth, and I just saw how much better he is at his voice than I am.
Yeah.
And the way he's able to kind of like put himself in a scene and make sense of all of the lunacy that I gave him was just so inspiring. Of like truly like not just as like an actor, but as a writer, as a performer, just top tier. Was such a cool experience to get to work with him in that regard. And then Jack McBrayer, from the moment he set foot in the studio to the moment he left, everybody was laughing.
Really?
Like again, like I've worked with some of the funniest people on the planet. I'm friends with some of the funniest people on the planet. Jack McBrayer is the funniest person I've ever met, by a mile. Like I really feel like he's like our generation's Martin Short. You hear stories about Martin Short and just how like he's always the center of attention. He's always funny, and people are just so happy to be around him. Jack came in, and he's playing a character who at a wedding keeps trying to even out, and so he has too much of a drink, so he smokes weed, but now he's too low, so he takes coke, so then he does mushrooms, so then he does Molly, and he just ends as like a total cartoon character.
Yeah.
And like Jack had to tell me, I need you to mute the mic because you're laughing too much. Like you got to stop laughing. And I had been like such a pro with everybody up until that point, and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't help it. You're too funny.
Yeah. I don't want to. I love Jack McBrayer, but I feel like I don't see him enough, or am I not consuming the right content? Like, where is his feature film or TV show?
I mean, 30 Rock he'll always be Kenneth the Page. He did a couple travel shows. He's been like voices and things. I think he does some like a lot of voiceover work now.
Yeah.
But also I'm fully with you of like, we need to get Jack McBrayer out there more. We need to see more of him. I've literally had conversations in general meetings where I'm like, I want to write something for him where he gets to play a couple of different roles. And I hope to God to one day to get to work with him again, because he just seems like the absolute best.
Yes, the Haniacs, we love 30 Rock. Okay, so as a working writer, what is your what's the divide between stuff that you're pitching versus like stuff that you're assigned? Like, how does it work?
So, great question. Right now, for me at least, the gigs that come in have been like kind of like smaller stranger ones, which are like writing for web series, writing for YouTube shows, writing for like every once in a while a sketch or something like that, writing for podcasts. And that I think is something that every writer needs to kind of grapple with, that like maybe, hopefully, you know, you could get staffed on Seth Meyers or something like that as a late night writer, which like nobody leaves the job at Seth because Seth is the best boss in the industry, it seems. Or you could find yourself on let's say like a cool show like Hacks, right? Where it's like Hacks is the coolest room in town, right? And everybody knows it. Everybody knows that those people are the coolest, and like Paul and Lucia and Jen and all of those people, like I remember seeing them around UCB years ago, and they are so talented and they're so great. But even like that is like, you could have that gig for like 5 years and then you're going to be onto something else. I think like it's important to realize that like between those gigs, and if you're lucky enough to get those gigs, you are truly very lucky, you're going to be picking up kind of strange jobs, or you need to be like making your own opportunities and doing things. And so for me, it's about right now, it's about like creating opportunities right now. It's about meeting people and writing new scripts, and then also ultimately making things. Like that's why this past year, like I wrote a play that I did like a stage reading of a few weeks ago, and I did a tour of a solo stand-up show in 2024, and you know, Ghostwriter came out, and there was a narrative audio series, and like I just got done I'm knock on wood soon to be done directing another audio series. And so like you find gigs and you like kind of cobble them together, but also like the dream of, you know, Cheers was on for 13 years or something, you know what I mean? MASH was on for 12 seasons, and just kind of being like, oh, this is my job for the next 12 years, and I'll just keep coming back and doing this, and maybe I'll write a movie or a book in between. That to me is like a little bit tougher to find right now, or like it's a little bit rarer than I think it used to be.
So I did want to ask you, so if you could just kind of take us through like the TV landscape from early 2000s to now. Like there
Sure.
was pilot season and like these long running shows and what's going on?
I saw this question on the primo and I was like, this question makes me feel so old. But
No,
also because it's like, tell us what it was like before. Like,
but you're okay, but if it helps, I thought you were only 4 years older than me up until
sure.
today. And then I
Instead
found out
of
you're 20 years older
That's
than
right.
me.
That can't be right. Yeah, because you're 18. That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
I will do that. You're 18, and also I am also 18. Yes. But 20 years older. No, I think like in terms of like landscape, a lot of things are different, and a lot of things are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Um, I got to New York in 2010. I was around UCB when Abby and Alana, still around UCB, and Abby was putting up her really talented solo show, and Alana was really kind to being like a sketch of mine at one point where we were like doing bits, just like going back and forth of being like the announcers of on like the BBC, like up next on the BBC and just like ridiculous, crazy things. And she was super nice to come and do a sketch with me. No way she remembers doing that, by the way. And then they made their web series,
Yeah.
Broad City, right? And then
Mhm.
Broad City got turned into a TV show. And then everybody was like, you gotta make web series. Web series are how TV shows are made, so everybody's gotta have one. And what you learn from doing that and from seeing the Abby and Alana's and the Rachel Sennett's and the Mary Beth's and the Benny Dramas and all of these people is that, like, every time one of these things happens where somebody takes a podcast and turns it into a TV show. Somebody takes a web series and turns it into a TV show, or somebody takes an Instagram account and a personality and like is able to option or like to pivot it into whatever, is like everybody thinks like, well, that's what you have to do. And instead of like looking at the person of being like, no, those people worked really hard. Like they worked really hard. They had like really singular voices. There was also a lot of luck involved. There was timing. They met the right people at the right times. They had the right support at the right places. The right people were in development at the right times to allow those things to happen. That like the lesson you should be taking isn't like, oh, I should do what somebody else did. It's just that like you should find a way to make your thing.
Yeah.
And that's what's been consistent the whole way. And that's what's still true is that, yes, is it absolutely insane to pitch and to try to sell things as all of the giants are colliding and merging and breaking apart and people are getting fired and consolidated and
Yeah.
I've had pitch meeting, I was just talking to somebody who has like a deal at Warner Brothers and they're like, yeah, we don't really know how to pitch anything to Warner Brothers right now because we don't know if Warner Brothers is real or not anymore. All of that is very confusing. What it means though, like in the mantra that I say to myself going through all of this is like, you just have to build it yourself. We just have to build it ourselves. And if you do that, like people can tell what people will know how to work with you and give you those opportunities if they see what you're making. If you keep coming to people and asking them for permission to make the thing or please give me money to make this thing or whatever, that's when you're gonna get stuck of not making anything, right?
Yeah.
Is that helpful? Is that interesting?
No, totally. Pilot season era. That's not really a thing anymore. Pilot season.
Pilot season of like, moving out to LA for a few weeks to like do pilot season, then going back to New York is not really a thing that happens. I've heard that NBC is like trying to bring it back, and that used to be a thing of like I would have friends come out to LA from I think it was like January through April, and you would supposedly do like audition after audition after audition. That's different in that like one auditions can happen over Zoom now. You don't necessarily need to be in the room in LA anymore, although I do think there is a benefit to being in a New York or in LA for this stuff. And also like the streamers are releasing things whenever they want. And I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a return to it as time goes on, because the streamers are realizing that like, move fast and break things. They broke things and now they have to fix it and figure out how to make money with them.
Yeah.
But like in terms of pilot season, again, like I was given really good advice by a friend of mine. Her name's Kelly. She at the time was working as like the development person at Comedy Central. And she was like, oh, I hear a lot of bad pitches, or I hear a lot of bad pitches. Like, what does it mean to be a bad pitch? And she's like, it's anytime somebody says, or whatever you want, And so, like, if somebody comes in and they have a clear idea as to their thing, she can decide, oh, we want this or we don't want this, or would you be willing to do this to change it to make it into something we want? Then the person can say yes or no. But if you don't know what the thing is, then we don't know if we can buy it yet.
Yeah.
And so with pilot season, with all of that, like, yes, is still like castings that happen that maybe you could, being here and like, but like being in a good short film, being seen in a short film, being seen in a bit role in a feature or in a commercial or something like that is still probably a good way of like being around and meeting people, because that's ultimately the key to everything, is that no matter how crazy things are at the top, the people you're working with, the community you have to support you is what's most important, and that's where a lot of the opportunities are going to come from. and most importantly, a lot of the support is going to come from, and those are the people you
Yeah.
need around you. Yeah.
So I want to talk about your class, write your
Great.
pilot and
Yeah.
write your feature.
hmm
Which came first, the pilot or the feature?
Pilot came first.
Okay.
Write Your Pilot came first. I started teaching Write Your Pilot in 2016, 2017, because a sketch group of very talented people were like, hey, I had like written some scripts and like, do you think you could help us do this? And I was like, oh, I think I could do that. And so I
hmm
helped them and I really enjoyed it. It really took off during the pandemic because improv is a real bummer to do, but I feel like writing classes are honestly more fun over Zoom because you get to
Yeah.
stay in your space. That's where you're going to be doing most of your writing anyway. And it is kind of like working independently with people more so than trying to collaborate the way that you do in improv, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I started teaching Write Your Pilot first. I wrote a bunch of pilots and have helped a lot of people do that. And then most recently, I was like, oh, I want to start writing features. And so people started asking me more and more too of like, can you help with a feature? And I did that for a few years before I like actually was like, cool, this is what I think about this. This is my new curriculum for this, and created the Write Your Feature class as like as a formal thing. Yeah.
It's such a fun class, but I'm always like I respect comedy teachers, especially like intro comedy teachers so much because I like cannot stand watching bad improv or bad stand up and reading bad writing. And all your
hmm
students are perfect and you've never read a bad script, obviously. Um, but I get bored when I read scripts. Is this a
hmm
universal thing? Like do you have any advice for like how to visualize things?
Well, first off, it sounds like you're reading maybe boring scripts. I don't know if you're reading like, read like read the script for the movie Scream, read
Okay.
the Wall-E script, read, like these are what I send to people as like the pre-class thing for Write Your
hmm
Feature. Reading scripts is like, it's reading in general is like a task for the mind. And so I'll say that. And no, I guess for me, when I'm reading a script, I'm trying to get a sense for what are they trying to communicate to me? Like, they're trying to express something. They're trying to tell me about something. That's the point of the script. And this is the only means in which they have to do it, is it's on the page and they're trying to talk to me about it. And so as I'm reading it, I am trying to put myself in their head of like, what are they trying to show me? What do they want me to see here?
Totally.
And there aren't necessarily bad scripts, but there are like scripts where you'll see like a fun typo where it's like, this totally changes the meaning of the thing.
hmm
That to me is different than like, people like didn't put thought into their scripts. Those are scripts that sometimes bug me where it's like they wrote it but they didn't actually write it, or like it's really just kind of like inscrutable. They clearly didn't like take the time to care about their idea, and I end up in a scenario where I care more about your show than you do.
Yeah.
Because it's such a like expressing anything is a very vulnerable thing to do. And
Yeah.
in my experience, writers don't need help feeling bad about their work. They need help being supported with it. And so that's what I like to think about when I'm reading a script. That it's like, cool, like you basically are sending me something that like you would be absolutely mortified to show to the person you are dating. Like you would be horrified if your family members saw this, but I get to
Yeah.
look at it and you trust me with this. That is like a
Yeah.
huge that's like a huge vote of confidence and a huge honor to me. And so I
Yeah.
think like that's something. And also like all first drafts look the same.
Yeah.
um and if you think that like helping your friend with a first draft is different than helping somebody at Broadway Video with a first draft, or helping, Aaron Sorkin with a first draft, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's the same. It's always the same for everybody. And to treat every project with that kind of level of respect is important to me, I guess.
Yeah.
And so in terms of like reading the script, I think like getting excited about like helping them is something that helps like keep me engaged with it.
hmm
Are there times that I've like fallen asleep reading scripts? Yeah, of course. Reading is hard, and sometimes I fall asleep doing it. But like, the fun of it to me is also like reading it with the mindset of like, how can we make this even more of what it wants to be?
Yeah. Has a student ever written a script that's like totally insane and you have to tell them like, is there an ethics thing going on? Like that would freak me out.
Thankfully, no. Like, thankfully, there hasn't been anything like. There's definitely been times where I'm like, hey, like, what's this? And had to have a conversation, usually with men, about
Yeah.
like, hey, the way that the women were described in this script isn't cool, and you
Yeah.
should know that. And sometimes the men are like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't even think about that. And sometimes the men are not cool about it. Again, like a lot of grace is extended. I wrote a script once, and I consider myself to be like a fairly like progressive person. And I wrote a script that was about like it doesn't matter what it was about, but it was basically like it was a script that was like a whole like magic world in it, and I was creating like a whole universe, and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool, and here's all this stuff, and I showed it to Kate, and she read it, and she was like, no, it's cool. The female interest in the script, I'm like, yeah, and she's like, she shows up 3 times, and it's just to have sex with her all 3 times, and I was like, oh my god, I'm supposed to be one of the good ones, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I think every writer needs to think about that to some degree of like what is my script saying? Where is it going?
Mhm.
What do I mean by this?
Yeah.
But in terms of like the only time I've ever told somebody, hey, maybe consider this before you work on this more was somebody. I think she's super talented, and I think she's super funny. She wrote a script about like the inner workings of a college improv group, and I was like, people don't. This isn't going to be as compelling as you want it to be.
Yeah.
The state, like mostly just because when people read the word improv on a script, people have a very visceral reaction to it in a way that they don't with other things.
I know. It's like the
Um,
war or something. Like you can't talk about it. But it's like
it
everyone did it. Like I know you guys were on an improv team, so why can't we talk about
And also, like, it's crazy to me that we now have shows that are so many shows like, oh, they're a podcaster. And it's like, that is not, like, nobody wants this. It's like, like, our female characters, our characters in general used to, like, they used to own bookstores.
it?
They used to be
Hmm.
reporters. They used to own
Yeah,
bakeries. Like,
totally.
to be a podcaster to me is such a weird, like, glamourless thing, I guess, that, like,
Yeah.
but I get that's where the IP of the show came from, and it helps with the thing and all of that. I'm not trying, no shade to Nobody Wants This, great show, but it's just crazy to me that like that's a trend in that we're seeing.
Yeah, it's just like a
So,
forced, I feel like there's a lot of forced technology in TV shows. And
hmm
because it's like trying to be relevant with the podcast thing. Um, Yeah, like improv movies always like, oh, like I could not watch Mike Birbiglia's movie. Was it that or is this thing
Don't think
on?
twice. I was actually
Oh,
don't think
that
twice. I was actually cut out of that movie. Thank you very much.
why?
I had like one line. It was in the very last scene of the movie. But like at the time, I was on a UCB house team, and like Mike Birbiglia is like my hero.
Okay. Yeah.
I had just gone through like the biggest heartbreak of my life, and my dad was like, "Let's go to New York," and we saw him do Sleepwalk with me. And seeing that show, I was like, "I've got to move to New York. I have to be here." The show was like such a big part, and so I got to audition for Don't Think Twice, which is a movie about improv, and I was on an improv team at the time, and
Yeah.
oh my god, this is such a dream. And then I got cut from the movie, and it felt like a scene from the movie of
Yeah.
like, what do you do when your hero cuts you from the movie? And like, I got to work with him, and I got to work with Gillian Jacobs and all these great people, and it was just like truly like one line at the
Yeah.
end. And it's just what
Okay.
happens. Like, but I agree.
Yeah.
Like that movie. I was hoping that movie would be more like Pitch Perfect, where it's like this makes this thing look cool and it's fun. Whereas that was much more about like the moodier side. Because I can tell you, not to disagree with the film or whatever. I've had friends get on SNL, and when you see your friend on SNL, you aren't like, wow, that sucks. You're like, oh my god, that's the coolest thing ever. One of us made it. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Sashir Zameda and I were on the same mod team when she got on SNL, and you're at the party with her, and you see her and John Milheiser and like all these people. Um, you get to see them go through it, and it's such a grueling process, and they make it, and it's just so incredibly cool to see somebody get that thing.
Yeah.
Um, and like that's something that I wish had been portrayed differently in that movie, because generally you're so excited for your friends when they succeed.
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering about that in terms of like the writing world too. Is there like competition among friends? Is it hard to not feel a type of way when someone gets something that you wanted?
Um, the question here under the question is like, Matt, are you in therapy? And the answer is yes, I am. And so like, yeah, they're definitely like, generally, it's a really bad look. I never want to feel bad for a friend's success. I'm only excited for my friends, and there are times where like I'm able to be self-aware enough to be like, I'm really upset I didn't get that opportunity. I'm really upset that they went a different way and got that job and I didn't get it. But it's never at the expense of the friend. Like the
Yeah.
friend also worked hard, and the friend also, it's such a cool opportunity. And also like that opportunity wasn't for you then.
Yeah.
And you don't know. I think about this a lot of like, you don't know what the thing is going to be that leads you to the next thing. Like I ended up with a narrative audio series, but with a show in the year 2024, which was the year of Glenn Powell, with Glenn Powell as the lead, right? Which is like a literal dream and never could have been predicted. And the way that happened was because I had enough money from working on this random weed show to do a short film to like turn into that show. And the reason I got that job was because I was somebody's improv coach 8 or 9 years before that, I feel
Hmm.
like. And they remembered me.
Yeah.
And, when I applied for this job, they put in my name, and I got the job to be on the weed show, which I'm not like a weed person. But I still got to work on this. I like cut edibles into like thirds. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
um,
I do it all the
it
time.
was, yeah, super fun. Love it, but just not like a weed culture person. And so like, how do you end up like, you don't know what the thing is going to be. And I definitely didn't take that improv coaching gig being like, one of you is eventually going to put me into a job that's going to help me You know what I mean? Like, and so I think it's very easy to get caught up in the opportunities. And a lot of times when you get told no for the opportunity, it's a job that at the beginning of it you were like, I don't really want to do this.
Yeah,
And then
for
you get wrapped
sure.
up into it and all of that, and it can be very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. If something is meant for you, the doors will fly open. Um, okay, I know we're almost at time, and I could literally talk to you about this forever.
I feel like I haven't
Just
asked anything about you. Am I supposed to? You're the host of this. I feel like I'm supposed to ask things about you too,
no,
though.
oh my God, of course not.
Okay.
I could talk to
Can
you
I
all
ask
day.
just as like, where are you at right now? Because I've read your work. Like, you've got this podcast. You've left the job at GM. What are you doing now?
I'm focusing on my podcast full time. I'm trying to grow it and then working on the second draft of my pilot. And
Cool.
it's
Very exciting.
so hard. I'm like, I think I need to retake your class. Like,
Cool. People do that all the time, honestly.
like,
Again, like for the
yeah,
deadlines, for the accountability, working with people and write your pilot and write your feature is like such a joy.
yeah,
Um, because like it's the one place where the idea is yours, you know.
hmm
And that's something that I think is very important in working with
yeah,
people. Is I'm not the arbiter of taste. I don't want to be a writing guru.
hmm
I'm a writer also, and I'm creating things. But one thing that I'm a Capricorn and naturally inclined to is like is organization, is giving you structure, is understanding the process of this. Because
yeah,
if the only way you can ever write something is like when you have that full on bolt of inspiration,
yeah,
uh, this is a job. It's a job. It's a craft, and it's the craft that I really enjoy. And the more I work with people, the better I get at it, and the more you do it, the easier it gets to do.
yeah.
And so, can I? This is it okay if I ask like what would be the hope for you? Like, what do you want to sell your own show? Are you trying to like? Is it like I Love LA? Is that the dream? Is it is Broad City? Are you hoping to like have your own Carol Burnett show? You know what I mean? Like, what's the hope?
I want to be Alex Cooper with morals. That's
See,
the
that's
dream.
interesting. Can that exist?
I don't know. And I
Sure.
want my podcast. I love my podcast. It's my child. Like it's my baby. It's everything to me. And I love to interview. Like I studied
You're
journalism
good
at
at it.
Ohio State. I wrote for the Lantern and like I love to interview and research. Like this is my favorite. I was looking forward to this all day. Like I hated how late our interview was for me because I was literally just waiting around like to talk to you. So I think that's the dream, to get to do this on a bigger stage or to get to like I don't know. And then with the show, I would love to pitch it and produce it. I can't act for shit.
Oof. What a lovely thing to hear. What a refreshing thing to hear.
I would love to be cast as myself. Like if someone was hiring like a curvy Jewish podcaster, like I think I would be great. But I don't think I can like act really. So with this next, but I do love this show and like I'm trying to see this the full way through. And my goal is like when I'm in LA to have like one meeting with someone, and not even important, but if I could just have one sort of conversation with someone about my show, I would count that as a win.
Something to
Yeah.
think about with that, because I'm right now doing a ton of general meetings, and I love general meetings. They're the best, especially as like an engaged person or a married person. It's like, oh, I get to go on dates. How fun. Um, but they're just for the career. It's like only for a career. And so like to me, the goal of all of it is like you want to make things with your friends. That's what it means to be
Yeah.
successful is you get to make things with your friends. And every general to me, not to sound corny about it, is like, oh, this is a chance to like hopefully find somebody that I click with enough to want to work with and
Yeah.
develop things. Right. And so like I think a lot of times people go in expecting like they're gonna either say yes or no to me, to my idea, and I'm either gonna walk out of this meeting with a big bag of money or I'm going to
Yeah.
have failed. And that's not the case usually. It's like, no, you are meeting these people. That's what also like everything is a chance. That's what every writing competition is. That's what UCB is. That's what Second City is these are all it's what grad school is. It's what film school is. These are opportunities to meet people who you can collaborate with in the future. And when you look at it from that direction of like, oh wow, look at all these people who want to make things and hopefully we can find a project someday that will get lucky enough to be made, is hopefully a way to kind of like remove some of the anxiety around that for you.
Yeah.
Um,
That's how I feel
uh,
too. And it's how I view podcasting. Like I love to connect with people and like every guest I interview kind of opens another door for like if I see someone I want that I have a mutual follow with, I'm like, hey, like or another recommendation or like I'm
sure.
trying to meet podcasters and I'm just really
hmm
struggling to meet people that are at my same level because either people have like way more followers than me or like they're way more successful, they're not going to respond to me, or people that like aren't taking it as seriously as I am. Just trying to like connect with people and work on the second draft of Embargoed. I did a
Very cool.
table read actually with my dad and my fiance, and it was so much fun.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Generally, it can go either way with showing things to family because,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I'm really PG. Like I'm a little bit of a
oh no, not for
puritan.
content, just because like parents just generally are like, I don't really get it, or they'll give notes and it's like, I've had a lot of meetings with people who are like, my mom read it and they really didn't like it. And it's like, okay, well, is your mom an exec at Paramount?
Yeah.
Like, then maybe don't listen to your mom. Maybe show your mom the thing once it's made.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
maybe don't listen to your
mine,
mom in this one
yeah.
instance. This is gonna be like the full
No,
quote. As
it's my
Matt
parents
says,
are super creative and supportive. When I was
cool.
little, and then we'll get back to the questions, I was
Hmm.
obsessed with Junie B. Jones. Like she is
Hmm.
my comedic inspiration. Like when people ask me, like it's Junie B.
Sure.
And my dad would write me plays like about Junie B. Jones, and like we would read them, and
Oh
like
my
he would
God, that's
cast
so
me
sweet.
as like
What's
Junie
his
B.
What's his job? Is this like part of his job, or like what does he do?
No, he does real estate. But he did stand up, and like we took an improv class together when I was in high school. And my parents were like the ones begging me to quit my job. And when I read my
Uh huh.
mom
It's good parents.
I read my mom the pilot breakdown of my show, and she cried because she was like so happy for me, and she's like, I don't understand it, but this is exactly what you were meant to do, Lily. Like, so
That's really
they're
nice
so
to hear.
supportive.
I'm similarly. I have very supportive parents in that, not financially, mom and dad, if you're listening, they could step it up there. No, the very supportive in that, like, um, there was definitely a while I was at Ohio State and like maybe law school, and then they saw how seriously I was taking it, and
Yeah.
like that's to me is an important thing about doing this is that like it is a job. It's a job like anything else is a job, and like if you work at it, more than likely good things will happen. And if you don't, like you're saying, like people who don't take it as seriously, yeah, they're gonna end up doing other things and probably happily married and owning a house, places with health insurance and all of that, and that's great for them. But we're pursuing our art, and that's also important.
Yeah, and I'm also like grateful to myself. I'm glad that I worked in corporate for like 6 years, and like I really feel like I have a lot of good experience like in professionalism, which I think is lacking in the creative industries. Some people need to get their
Sure,
shit together. Um, but like
absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so one of my favorite things that you talked about in the class, and I have told this to everyone that I've met, is like when you are writing something, you get to that 80% point and it starts getting really hard. And then you start eyeing other projects and you're like, but this one will be better and this one will be better. And you
Hmm.
create this loop of unfinished projects. Can you talk a little bit about?
Yeah, it's the worst. It's the absolute worst because you've been working on it and now you're like, you can kind of see the end a little bit, but it's still far enough away that you're not quite there. Because eventually you can get to a point in the script where you're writing and you're kind of like writing downhill and you're just like, oh my gosh, like it just has to finish and I'm so close and it's gonna get done. More than likely though, the time when you're gonna have that idea for the sketch show or for that memoir or the book of essays or whatever is when you just start writing a script or like you've been writing it and you're on page, if it's a TV pilot, you're on page 6, 7,
Hmm.
and you're like, "Ooh, this is not as easy, not going as fast as I thought it was going to. But man, I just had this really great idea for a web series that would be so easy to film. And if I could just take a day away from it, and I'll just write, and I'll get a friend, and we'll shoot it, and we'll edit it, and do all that, and I'll just come back and I'll write the rest of the script afterwards. Don't do it. Finish the script
Yeah.
first. That idea will still be there, and if it's great, it will benefit from the time of like percolating and cooking a little bit longer. But that is having that focus and the discipline to like finish the projects and to get through it. Like that's how we get better at doing this. And if you
Yeah.
don't do that, you're going to end up creatively paralyzed, where
Hmm.
you have too many projects open, and then what ends up happening is you finally get that Saturday where you don't have anything to do, and the whole point, you feel the energy of it, you are ready to like, oh, I'm feeling creative and I want to work on something, and you'll get up and you'll look at all of the projects that are open and you won't know what to work on, and you don't know how to finish anything, and you're just so totally stuck, and it just feels awful that yeah, I really recommend getting to the end of a draft. The like done not done binary we put on things I don't think is real. It's never done. You're all like, best case scenario, you're gonna sell it, and the person you sell it to is gonna have notes, and then the director's gonna have notes, and the actors are gonna have notes, the studio's gonna have notes, and it's always gonna be in flux until it's like on the screen and people are watching it.
Yeah.
But you can get it to a point where it's at rest though, and that's what we want for everyone is like, yeah, get it to a place where you can then decide, all right, I wrote this draft, I've got some notes on it, now though I can go work on something else because this is good, I'm good in this, and now I want to go work on something else. So I would say like be mindful of that, of like not being so led by the nose with those
Yeah.
ideas of like, you liked this idea enough to work on it this much, you owe it to yourself to finish it.
That is beautiful. So, are you of the mindset of like just write no matter what versus like being, I'm not inspired right now, or like, sometimes I feel like, well, if I write something when I'm not in the mood to write, it's not going to be good. So I might as well not write.
I definitely wouldn't say I'm somebody who says like you have to write every day. Anytime I've said this in class, but it's worth repeating here. Of like anytime I hear somebody say that they write every day, that's to me telling on themselves that like I don't think you buy your own groceries. I don't think you pay your own rent. And so like writers aren't supposed to write every day. Like you're think of it as like a garden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're planting, sometimes things are growing, sometimes you're harvesting, sometimes you are just lying fallow. You know what I mean? Like, and so in terms of like the craftsmanshipness of it though, like once you have a project, I
Yeah.
am pretty like monastic, I guess is the word for it, of like, yeah, I wake up, I brush my teeth, I walk my dog and make a cup of tea, and then I sit down on my computer and I work on the writing if I have a project on.
Yeah.
And there's a quote I really love. It's from, I think, The War of Art, where a writer was asked, like, do you only write when you're inspired? And he said, yes. And luckily enough for me, I'm inspired every morning at 9 o'clock. And it's like, ooh, what a great, you really nailed that reporter. Yeah, what a cool thing to say.
Wow.
That I'm now repeating. But like, this is you have to think of it as like it's a craft. And yes, there are days where you will write things and it will come out bad. And you
Yeah.
need to do that. And there are days when you write things and you correct that stuff and you polish it. But because you wrote it bad the first time, now you can make it good. That like you have to sort of this is something I think about a lot of like if you're judging yourself on the quality of your writing, you're most days going to think you're bad at this. If you're judging yourself on doing the work, on like today it's my job to do this outline. Today it's my job to put something down on the page, to work on this, to work on the breakdown, even if it's bad. But I did it. That to me means you're a good writer. Does that make sense? And so like
Yeah.
the judgment isn't if what you wrote is good, because it's usually not until like the very end. The judgment is like, did I work on it? And that to me is like a much healthier way of approaching of like writing, that like you can really start like when I just finished writing a feature, and while I was writing it I was like, I'm really loving writing this because I'm noticing as I'm going forward that shit's wrong, and I'm going back and I'm fixing it, and it honestly felt like this is such a nerdy thing for me to admit. I felt like one of those jewelers like with one of those things on my eye where I'm like fixing like a clock or
Yeah.
like a watch or something. And
Totally.
there's like I just take such joy from that of like, oh, I'm making it and like this is wrong and now I have to go back and fix it and I fucked this up. Jeez, am I allowed to swear? I hope that's okay. Usually
Totally.
there's a lot of swearing in terms of the writing for me.
Yeah.
And so like I went back and fixed that, and so like you find joy in the process of it. That like I'm about to get notes from Elizabeth and from my managers on Monday for this feature, and what I want them to say is, "Wow, Matt, you're the best writer that's ever lived. This is the most brilliant thing, and there's every word is right." And Kate already read it. She already pointed out a bunch of shit that's wrong, and they're gonna read it and they're point out more shit that's wrong, and I'm gonna like bang my head against a wall, and it's going to feel bad, but also like I would never say like, and I love that, and it feels great, and I love it when people tell me all the things that the mistakes that I made. It feels bad. It's hard. But it's also part of the process, and it's largely in service of things getting better.
Feedback. Oh, I want to throw up. And you were so kind. You're so good at giving feedback. It was great. I didn't actually want to throw up when you were giving me feedback. I wasn't even sweating that much.
Giving notes is really hard. It's something that like I've done a lot. And again, the goal of if you are listening to this and you're going to give somebody notes, the goal is not to make it your show. The goal is to make because there's a version of your show that like my version of your show would be different than your version of your show, right? Your job as the person giving notes is to honor their vision and to try to like bring that out more. I've heard it expressed before as like, it's not my job to pitch new things as much as like show you what you're working with and make those things work together better.
Yeah.
And so like everybody, it's such a vulnerable place. It feels horrible. Like, and it doesn't matter how many times you've done it, it still is like, hey, I'm really out in the wind here. I need you to be kind with me. And so I've heard people be like, I'm gonna rip it to shreds, and it's like, nobody needs that. That's not helpful.
Crazy. I hate giving feedback. So like I told you, I don't like reading other people's stuff, like straight up.
Right.
Like I read pilot. Yeah. I've read good ones for your class, like the Mad Men pilot and the Cheers pilot, and I'm slogging through that. So I'm like
I also think that's an okay thing to know about yourself. If you're like, hey, I'm not your friend who gives you notes on your script. I'm your friend who helps you produce your show. I'm your friend. Like, there is still, like, not everybody should do that. And also, like, a lot of people will just be like, okay, and then they'll give bad notes. It is not a bad thing to know about yourself. Like, I don't want to read you. I'm not going to give you helpful notes. That's not the way I think about it.
Okay, so a few more writing questions, and then we'll go to Chic or Freak, and then you'll never hear from me again. Okay, so
I hope that's not
I
true,
really
but go
wanted
on.
to ask you about character development. So I've been thinking a lot about characters, and like what was lacking in my original draft is I only had one character that I'm like, this is my queen and I'm gonna die for her. And it's like, you need to be the art of crafting a character is so cool to me. And I was wondering, who your favorite characters are and
Oh, wow.
TV, and then how can you get to know a character and develop their quirks?
My favorite characters on TV. What an amazing question. The first, I'm just gonna go with like first thought, best thought here. I'm gonna go to like police procedurals, in that like one of my favorite sitcoms is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. One of my favorite other procedurals is Bones. Um, and I'm gonna talk about Bones for a second here, even though Bones seems like a corny show that's only on in hotel rooms in the Midwest, which it is, and we are so lucky for that. Bones really works as a show because everybody has a thing, right?
Hmm.
But like everybody's an expert, everybody's smart, and I love that about that show. And what ends up happening in a lot of these procedurals, the reason they aren't as fun is because exactly what you're saying. There's only one character, and everybody else is just kind of like bland.
Hmm.
And they don't really have a personality with them. And so I feel like that to me is the sign that the writer took extra care to figure out those characters. When everybody has a thing, that's really hard to achieve in a pilot. Like you can get a little bit there in a pilot, like, and we can see it. And so you watch a show, you watch The West Wing, you watch Mad Men, and you realize like, oh wow, this is such a fully realized world, and they are works of art as you watch them. I just watched, actually, this is a great example for this, and very of the moment. I just watched the Widow's Bay pilot, on Apple. Are you familiar with the show?
No, sorry.
Um,
Apple keeps
this
pulling all these crazy shows out, and I'm like, I don't have time to watch all this.
So, Widow's Bay, I want to bring up the writer Katie Dippold is a UCB alum. I don't personally know her, but I've been a fan of hers from afar for a long time. And I remember this script coming out, Widow's Bay, because Mike Schur said he read it as her writing sample for Parks and Rec 18 years ago. And like basically the lore is that he read the first page and wrote "hire me" or "hire her" on it, and like passed it off. That like it was like one page of writing. I don't know if that's true or not. He probably read the rest of it or whatever, but like still, it just premiered like last week, and Katie Dippold has had this script for 18 years and has been developing it. And so you read it, and like everybody is so, like, the town is so rich, and all of the characters are so rich. And there's a scene in the pilot that I just adore where they're at a historical society, and the woman working at the historical society, I won't spoil the joke for you, but she's talking about like the witch burnings that they had there, and it's such a funny joke, and you immediately can just see who all of these people are. And it's clear that like such care was taken with these
Yeah.
characters. But
Damn.
also it's something that happens over time in developing it. And I think that
Yeah.
like you can tell when a show was kind of cranked out, and it's just sort of like, this is the character, and his friend is kooky. How can we tell they're kooky? She's a lesbian. And it's just like, that's
Yeah.
not enough. There's more to that person than just the fact that she's a
Yeah.
lesbian. You know what I mean? Like
Damn. I'm gonna watch that today.
the Widow's Bay. Great.
Yes, Widow's
Cool.
Bay.
Widow's Bay is on
Um,
Apple, yeah.
Your characters came through when I was listening to Best Man's Ghostwriter. Like they all
Thank you.
just came through to me really clearly. I love Nicholas Braun's character, like, and Nate's mom was adorable and just so obsessed with her. You
So Nate's
sighed
mom
at
is my mom, yeah.
Yeah, I could get that too. And everything was so great. And I want to see you as Nate. Like I want to see that version.
I definitely, when they were like, "Hey, would you be cool with Glenn Powell playing the part of instead of you?" I was like, I can see the appeal. I can see why people would prefer that. But no,
No,
it was
yeah.
fun. I do like performing. I'm a writer who writes. I'm a performer who performs what I write. Like the important thing is getting the writing out there more so than me feeling like I would rather be a writer and a showrunner than being like an actor or a lead. Although, why have to choose? Why limit yourself?
Yeah.
I will say I just want to say real quick. The Nicholas Braun's character, he really brought a ton to that role. Like it's on the page and he did a great job, but like talk about just an absolutely talented actor who
Yeah.
really crafted it. And then the mom character is one where it's like, that's my mom. That is my mom. And not Deborah Messing played her, and Deborah Messing like was one of the like more starstruck I was just because she's been on
Yeah.
TV so much. And I won't get into, maybe we disagree politically on some things, but we're not gonna talk about that. She's amazing and I love her. But like, so I do also with my mom, like that's
Yeah.
fine. And like that is like a lot of the conversations with my parents, and the dad was played by Neil Neil Flynn. Neil Flynn played my dad. He's the janitor from Scrubs. And
Bro,
yeah,
I
right.
didn't even
Uh,
realize. Oh,
yeah. He was the
this is
janitor
the
on
best
Scrubs.
cast. Best
No, I
cast
know.
on earth.
And like Scrubs was such an important show to me. They got like to have Zach Braff play my brother, to have Neil Flynn play my dad, to have Grace from Will and Grace play my mom. Honestly, like you get to, that is truly like something I hope everybody gets to do. You'll eventually get to sell a show, and you get to call your mom, and you'll be like, "Mom, who do you want to play you?" And she's gonna say Mary Tyler Moore, and then you're like, "Mom, Mary Tyler Moore has been dead for
Yeah.
for however many years." we got Deborah Messing, and then she gets to tell all of her friends Grace from Will and Grace is playing me in a show, and it really means the world. Like it's
Oh,
so cool.
Matthew.
Yeah.
I'm so like retroactively proud of you. I don't
Thank you.
know.
And also should be like, and this character's a total lunatic and it's nothing like me. And I'm like, Mom, this is 100%, like, this is real stuff that you have said.
What was your mom's reaction to all of this? I mean, was she just so proud of you?
Extremely proud. Yeah. My parents, and also like, oh, I'm going to tear up thinking about it. I waited. I knew about the show being greenlit and my parents were flying in like 2 days. And I waited to tell them in person, and just I'm gonna tear up just thinking about it. It was like such a meaningful thing to tell them that the show had been greenlit, that I'd sold a show. They're the best, and they've been so supportive. And like, it's hard. It can be very hard doing this job to have, like, I call them every Sunday, and every Sunday I wish I could tell them like this great thing happened, and it doesn't. And you just kind of keep working, and you an exciting meeting, and you find out no, it's not going to go, and that like they are truly very supportive. And at this point, they could have told me to quit at a number of times, and they haven't, and I love them very much for that.
That's so beautiful. It's such a good show, and it's this cast, I just kind of can't get over it. And like that Nicholas Braun, he's a star, and I don't care what people have to say. I knew it from when I saw him in Sky High. I was like, this is a star.
I'm excited to see him in Cheap Detective. He has some like restaurants and bars in New York people should frequent.
I know.
I can't say this enough. Like, Glenn Powell is like the nicest, best like person, like so talented. Nicholas Braun is like one of the best actors I've ever worked with, and truly like the way he was able to embody that character. Because there's a lot of scenes where it's like, what am I doing? What's going on? And then he is able to like ground it. It's just him in a booth. He's able to ground it in a way that was so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Back to the characters. Like, I think Succession has my favorite, like most developed. Like, I mean, the character of Kendall Roy is everything to me.
Yeah. And that's what's so cool. Like, and the thing that's important to remember too is that like that was not their first show. That was not that show creators' first show. That also was not a first draft of that script. That a lot of times people will read their work and they'll compare it to Succession, and Succession is artwork. It is absolute art.
Yeah.
The way, like, every single Logan Roy swear word is artwork. Yeah. And you forget that like this is so much experience and development, and all of that. That like it's be kind to yourself as you're working on the early drafts. That's how it takes a lot longer for these things to get good than we want them to.
Okay. Oh my God, I could literally talk to you all day, and I'm looking at the time going up, and I'm like, I have to let him go.
Of course.
Can I ask you about Heated Rivalry really quickly? What's the industry scuttlebutt? Like, has that, like, because it kind of came out of nowhere, was a sleeper hit. Are people taking notes from that? Like, do you think Heated Rivalry will have some sort of long-term effect? Hopefully more gay hockey players.
Like, and this is like my like, I'm as keyed into the industry as the next guy, I guess, but I'm not by no means like an insider. I don't know what the execs are talking about. If I had to guess, I would say like, are we going to see more like gay athlete shows? Like, yeah, probably. That'll probably be the takeaway, is like people love it. Like, I don't think it's going to be, at worst, we're going to see more hockey stuff. Yeah. That people are going to be like, oh, we really love the hockeyness of it. This is like the classic thing of like, Barbie is such a huge hit, and everybody's like, great, people love toy movies. And it's like, no. People love movies that are written by voice of a generation talents like Greta Gerwig, that are like strong women telling really great stories about women. But the aftermath of it wasn't like, we need women to have more work. It was like, we need more toy movies. And it's like, that's the fear with Heated Rivalry. Heated Rivalry to me, I think was I watched the first episode and a half, and my wife was out of town, and eventually I was kind of like, what are we doing? What are you doing as a straight man in your home alone watching all of these like very explicit gay hockey scenes? Yeah, like you need a chaperone to watch it. I need my, like, and this is, I'm as secure as the next guy, but I was also like, my wife's gonna love watching this, so I shouldn't watch it without her. But also I'm like, it's the middle of the day, and I'm just kind of watching this, and I'm like, I have work to go do. I can't just keep watching these two guys make out with each other as time passes. Yeah. The scuttlebutt to me is like, people are excited about it, and it's interesting to see, I don't know what his name's, Connor Story, right? He was definitely around in LA, and like there are people who like I have like mutual friends with him, and to see how like it was kind of like one weird Canadian show, and now he's in movies and he hosted SNL, and now all of these things are happening. They both were at the Met Gala. Yeah. I'm willing to bet that like when that show dropped last year, they weren't like, we're gonna be at the Met Gala. You know what I mean? Like, you have no idea what's gonna hit and what's gonna work. Yeah. Their rise. I mean, we only see that every like few years, not super often. I will say like one thing, even though I've only watched an episode and a half and I like felt a certain way, I love that that's like the show that hit this year. You know what I mean? Like that to me is a sign of like people are responding to the human storytelling of it. People are responding to the passion of it. People are horny for it, which is great. And like at a time when everybody's like, how come every show feels too heavy or shows too weird or like why aren't people watching TV? It's like everybody fucking tuned in for Heated Rivalry, and like the reason I didn't keep watching was just because Kate and I never found a time to keep watching it. It's not because I didn't like it, you know?
Yeah. No, I get it. The Haniacs are not judging you for not finishing Heated Rivalry. Totally get it. Okay, so we're going to transition to Chic or Freak, which is a Literally Heinous original game. So I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions about the industry, and you're going to tell me if it's chic, which is cool, sexy, mysterious, or freak, which is like gauche, tacky, weird.
Cool. Got it. Thank you for the definitions. I appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Subtitles. Watching movies with subtitles.
At home, chic. At theaters, freak.
My friend bought us tickets to Marty Supreme and accidentally got us the movie theater tickets with subtitles on, and it literally took up like the entire screen. It was horrible.
At home though, very chic. You got to do it, and that's not just like because of you, because like the TV speakers aren't designed for it, and like the way things are mixed now is worse. That like you literally need it in order to hear everything. So I am for it. Or put on big headphones like I'm wearing right now and watch it without the subtitles. But like you literally need the speaker like right next to your ear. So yeah.
Okay, writing what you know.
Is there supposed to be an explanation, or is there supposed to be like a one-word rapid fire?
You can give an explanation. I think
chic, because even if it is like a super sci-fi like thing that you've never experienced, we still want your voice and take on it. Like the people, the characters in it, we still want your voice and what you know within it. You can't. It's not you can only write what you know, but you need to bring your voice to whatever it is that you write. So I'm going to say chic.
Okay. Nepo baby discourse.
I'm going to say freak.
Same. Get over it. Like, it's always been like this.
I agree. And like, you know, what are we going to call Jane Fonda a Nepo baby? You know what I mean? Like, do I think that the entertainment industry is unfair? Yes. I was never a promise. Do I wish that there was more of a merit-based system? Sure. But no, they can't help it. They're just doing what they like. And a lot of times I've worked with some of these people and they're super nice and super talented and they know what they're doing. And so, no, I would say freak for that.
Totally agree. And also being a Nepo baby does not guarantee success. There's a lot of Nepo flops out there.
Which has to feel even worse, you know, like I can at least, or I suppose we can at least be like, listen, no Nepo, but like, you know, my dad's an optometrist in rural Ohio. My mom's a high school librarian, or they were before they both retired. That, you know, that's my excuse of like, if your dad was on a 90s sitcom and was a super hit and you can't get your act together to write a script, like, what's your deal? Yeah.
Like, it can get you indoors, but it can't take you that far. Like, there's a lot of Nepo flops out there, and I'm not going to name names, but you'd be surprised.
But we could, though.
I mean, sometimes I look up celebrities, I'm like, oh, did they have kids? And I'm like, oh, their kid's 25. Like, oh, they have a music career? Never heard of them. Ella Travolta. Why isn't John Travolta's daughter more famous? I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Okay. Chic or freak, hate watching.
Define hate watching.
Like watching a show that you know is bad and you know you hate it just to kind of like rip it to shreds a little bit.
Chic. I would say chic. I think this is intellectual discourse, especially like for like bad movies. Like I watched Playdate, the like Kevin James, Alan Richardson Amazon Prime movie. Kevin James like didn't get into a costume. It's an action movie. He ends the movie totally clean. And like there's not a punch on him, just like whatever. And it's like I watched it the whole time and like was thrilled at it. That I think watching bad movies or hate watching things is an intellectual thing. I do think you need to make sure you watch good things too. If you're only taking in trash, that can be bad. Yeah,
I mean, when I lived with my best friend, we watched the Kissing Booth trilogy. I don't know if you've heard of this. It was so fun to hate watch. Yeah. No offense.
I was in, and like this is what I also like. People kept calling it a hate watch and it wasn't. I was in a Fast and the Furious film club. Where every week up until the 10th movie, we like for like 9 weeks in a row, we went to a guy's house and like watched one of the Fast and the Furious movies. Mm-hmm. And that movie series, like it's artwork. And, it's, you know, people are like, oh, but it's trash. And it's like, no, it's really specific trash though. Like, yeah, like I'm not saying it was better than Hamnet. Like that's a different thing. Like, but like I think you should watch everything and enjoy it and figure out a reason to enjoy things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's been one of my favorite questions when I'm talking to like movie people or like film bros or whatever, like what's your favorite bad movie? I find that I love seeing people's eyes light up about like a
Hmm.
terrible movie that they love. Um,
Absolutely.
Mine is Coyote Ugly. That's my favorite
Great
bad
choice.
movie. Yes.
Great choice.
Okay, Chic or Freak reboots.
I'm gonna say freak on this. Um, we need new ideas. We pop culture. We've done all the jokes. Everything Ever All at Once was such an achievement, and if you think you're gonna get better pop culture jokes than Everything Ever All at Once, or like you're not. Like we need new culture. We need to create new things instead of just rebooting everything that's old. The snake is eating its tail. We need
Yeah,
new things.
I liked the Scrubs reboot. Thoughts?
I also like the
Prayers?
Scrub reboot.
Yeah.
That to me isn't necessarily. That was more of like a. Yes, I also enjoyed it. I don't know that it was better than the original. I don't know that it like was anything
Yeah.
new. I also don't know that it necessarily is the sign of a healthy ecosystem in the entertainment industry of like that
Yeah.
we want this. But I
Totally.
also enjoyed it because I love those characters. And yes, I again, Zach Braff made Garden State, and he talked to me about it when we were working together. And I'm just a fan for life for him. So yeah,
Okay, that's good to know
yeah,
because
yeah.
I get weird vibes from him, but I don't know him.
Oh, I'm not saying he's not a weird guy. I'm just saying that like Garden State was on my wall at a Taylor Tower at Ohio State, and it was a very meaningful film to me. Still is.
Okay, Chic or Freak, showrunners hiring their friends for writing rooms.
Showrunners hiring their friends for writers' rooms. I'm gonna say chic, even though like because I'm gonna say chic with the caveat that I wish I was friends with more showrunners. I will say like getting to hire your friends, getting to like work with your friends on a thing. I got to experience it, a little taste of it with Ghostwriter. It's the
Yeah.
best. It really is
Yeah.
such a cool thing to get to do. And what I don't like is when other shows get created and only people who have gotten to work on other things because they worked on that, now they are the only people that can work on this. It's like no,
Yeah.
there are so many talented people. Give other people a chance to make their thing. That like yeah, if, like a rising tide raises all ships. So yeah.
Totally. Chic or Freak, How I Met Your Mother.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Great question. I'm gonna say freak with love. I'm gonna say freak with love.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's a love freak. Because for me, at least personally, like I, was a little younger than Ted Mosby when it came out, and then kind of like by the time it ended, I feel like I was the same age as Ted Mosby. Hanging out with watching How I Met Your Mother is like hanging out with my friends from college, where I'm like, oh wow, that's a really funny thing. Like, you did one thing that I think is really funny, and like, oh, this music's really great, and then they'll make choices that I really don't agree with,
Yeah.
and I'm like, we were friends in college for a reason.
Yeah.
And the construction of that show, Phil Lord and Chris Miller show ran season 1, and it's great. It's a masterpiece. But yeah, that show came on at a really specific time, and it has aged very strangely.
Mm.
And that's okay to admit. That happens to
Yeah.
a lot of comedies,
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from the people making it were doing the best that they could. Do I wish that there were some things that were a little bit more heads up in it? Yeah. Do I wish Ted Mosby was written as more of like a guy who would take accountability for himself instead of other ways? Then yeah, I do. But like, again, they were doing the best with what they had at the time, and we would all be so lucky to create something that great. And then 10 years later have people on podcasts being like, what do we think of it? You know what I mean? Like,
I only bring it up because you brought it up a lot during the class.
oh no, yeah, it's a hot button issue. It's something I've thought about a lot because I loved it. I loved it when it was coming out, and then as many people I hope have done, have like kind of learned more about how to be a supportive person in the world, was like, oh yeah, that was a pretty effed up show. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things from the early 2000s that we should all learn better and not do anymore.
I love How I Met Your Mother. And
Yeah.
I just do. This is so embarrassing. I listen to the Rewatch podcast.
You're not the only person. I hear it's a really great podcast, and like I've got
Yeah.
friends who are mutuals with Josh Radnor. I hear Josh Radnor's great. Josh Radnor's from Columbus, right?
I know, yeah.
And so like again, I have no ill will towards anything of How I Met Your Mother. I think the feeling
Yeah.
I feel about it is that I identified so strongly with Ted Mosby
Yeah.
when it came out that now that I watch it, I'm reminded of an absolutely like clueless version of myself that
Totally.
that I have. It's like it's cringe in a way for me that is not. It's like going through your yearbook
Yeah.
and realizing that like, oh my god, I can't believe I thought I could say that to a woman and be like, that was cool. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
um,
Hey, if you're not cringing, you're not growing. That's what I say to justify
that, yeah.
everything I've ever done. Okay, last one, and then
Last
I'll
one.
let you go.
of course.
Chic or Freak shows about the entertainment industry.
But you really listen to class and you hit me where I'm vulnerable here. I'm gonna say freak. Freak, again, with the caveat of, like, yes, for every hacks that you get, or for every sentimental value that you get, where it's like, this is a well-told story that is interesting,
Mm-hmm.
why are the Minions making a movie
Yeah.
in the new Minion movie? The Minions are making a movie. You tell, like, that's the most interesting thing we can make the Minions do, is they can make a movie.
I didn't know that.
We
Is that Minions 4?
It's Minions and Monsters is coming out in theaters near you.
Okay, because I'm a Despicable Me head. Like, I've seen. I went
Okay.
to.
Wow, we really got vulnerable here at the end. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like crazy. I'm not like a Minions person, but I've seen.
I watch you
Okay.
just like slowly paint your face yellow and like put on goggles, and, like suspenders, and you're like, listen, I'm not a freak, okay?
No, I don't even know their names.
Yeah. No,
I
I have nothing against the Minions, but like there are more. It to me is a sign of a lack of imagination in the world that like we keep getting everything that I'm seeing that is like being kind of like heralded as like this is good is like Wonder Man was a Marvel show that is about an actor working in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Is This Thing On is about like a stand-up, and it's like it to me is just kind of like it shows a lack of imagination at a certain point, and I don't know if it's the writers, I don't know if it's in development, I don't know if it's in execs, but like we aren't telling stories anymore. The most
Yeah.
interesting thing about watching a movie isn't the making of the movie, it's the movie, it's the story, like, and so I would love that. And again, we need new culture, we need new pop culture, that if we keep doing things that are about like making movies and about the entertainment industry, it's just so navel gazy to me that I'm really, that's why I think Heated Rivalry is such a huge hit, is because Heated Rivalry had nothing to do with the entertainment industry. And there was the one scene where they're filming the commercial, I guess, that I loved. But like, it's about gay hockey players, and that's so fun to be in this world and to be immersed in a world so effectively. That like I just yeah, it's kind of lost the veneer, and I feel that way also a little bit about like I'm not gonna name names. I don't want to go there.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
It's like
Um,
I love LA more if they did, you know, if it was like kind of set in a world like it's not relaxing to me because like think about all it's like I love LA, the studio, Wonder Man, Hacks, all of these shows are like the tentpole shows for these platforms. But how much of this do we need? Like how much don't you want to see a Western? Don't you want to see a sci-fi show or
totally.
friends, you know, hanging out at a coffee shop? You know what I mean? Like I would much rather allow us to immerse ourselves in stories than to keep telling entertainment industry stories in a way that I think is bad for the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
No
That
shade to I Love LA. Yeah, they're doing great work.
totally. Okay, so Matthew, I love talking to you. I could literally talk to you forever.
Likewise,
And
yeah.
I'm so happy I could do this because the whole class, I just wanted to talk the entire class because everything you said in class, I
Mhm.
had something to say. And I was like, I have to shut the fuck up or everyone in this class is going to hate me. So I'm so glad I get to pick your brain now. So write your
That
pilot,
means a
write
lot,
your
yeah.
feature. Are there open dates, open slots? Where can they find you?
At my website, MatthewStar.com, there's a tab at the top that's Write Your Pilot that will always have the things updated. If you send me an email through that, I can put you on the email list that you get updated when I like literally email people directly. It's very small, it's through word of mouth, so I very much appreciate you promoting it here. I think there's a class starting in June for pilot and in July for features. Again, summertime's a weird time for writing a script, but like you can get it done. Write it on your summer break, and then you'll come back to school with a script and all of that. Because like the entertainment industry takes a break in the summer as well. This is a good time to be doing writing, because everybody is vacationing and whatnot till September, and then
Yeah.
September until like October. And then they're like, well, it's Halloween, which is basically Thanksgiving, so we'll talk to you in the new year. You know, like, so yeah, write your pilot, write your feature, and also like if you have a script, I like do one-on-one note session, or like one-off note sessions that I like to give notes on that for pilots or features, or if you want to do an outline. Like I love working with people. That to me is like the pilot class is done as the group pilot class is pay what you can, and that's because to me getting to work together is more valuable than whatever amount of money the difference is between what you're able to pay and what, like, obviously I hope you can pay the full amount because that makes my life a lot easier, but like getting to work together, getting to work with people. This job is all about community. And one thing I love about teaching the class is I've gotten to work with so many cool people that I now consider friends, that I now consider collaborators. You included, Lily. That it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yes, thank you so much. I will link all of this in the assets and tag you on Instagram. Follow Matthew on Instagram. You post funny comedy skits every once in a while. I was dying at your Truman
thank
Show
you.
one.
Thank you. Hopefully it'll be more regular. I'm trying to do better about that. But yes, every once in a while is definitely like an indictment of me there. But yes, hopefully more regularly. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on, and I'll talk to you soon.